the whistle. Indiana with...
The November air was sharp and heavy with the scent of wet asphalt as Caitlin Clark pulled into a quiet Des Moines grocery store car park after another exhausting 3-hour Indiana fever practice. All she wanted was a few late-night snacks before heading home to a shower and sleep. Yet fate had a different plan waiting under the dim flicker of a street lamp. That was where she saw her. A tiny figure, no more than 7 years old, dribbling a worn-out basketball with rhythm and focus that defied the hour and the cold. The child, later known as Kiera Williams, had turned the cracked asphalt into her court and a milk crate duct-taped to a lamppost into her hoop. The sound of the ball bouncing, thump, 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 echoed through the still night like a heartbeat of determination. Kiera's sneakers were barely holding together, the soles separated from the uppers and bound by knots of shoelaces, duct tape, and sheer willpower. Her oversized Lakers jersey fluttered around her knees, her shorts rolled high at the waist, and her small hands cradled the ball with the seriousness of someone guarding a sacred dream. Caitlin stopped mid-step, her breath catching. There was something painfully familiar about the sight, that unfiltered, unspoiled love for basketball, the kind she herself had known long before the fame, the lights, and the million-dollar contracts. It was raw passion, the kind that didn't need cameras or applause. For nearly 10 minutes, Caitlin sat in her car, transfixed by the rhythm of Kiera's persistence. The child would miss shot after shot, then chase down the ball with the same tireless energy, dribble back to her imaginary free throw line, and try again. Her form was impressive, her feet aligned, her follow-through precise, her body memory trained from hours of watching others, maybe even Caitlin herself. Later, Caitlin would learn that Kiera had been coming to this very parking lot for 6 months straight, ever since she had seen Caitlin on a televi. Made those words come alive. After her mother's death and her father's deployment overseas, Kiera had found solace in that orange ball and the dream of one day playing under real lights, on a real court. Miss Ruby, who worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table, had scraped together $3 at a thrift shop to buy Kiera a used basketball. And every night, no matter how tired she was, Kiera would slip out quietly after dinner, walking 3 blocks to this parking lot, her grandmother's coat wrapped around her small frame, and play until her fingers went numb. When Caitlin finally stepped out of her car, her footsteps light against the cracked pavement, Kiera froze, clutching her ball to her chest. For a moment, the two just looked at each other, the star and the dreamer, separated by years and circumstance but united by something eternal. "You've got a good shot," Caitlin said softly, smiling to ease the tension. Kiera's eyes widened in disbelief, her mouth falling open as if she couldn't quite trust what she was seeing. "You're Caitlin Clark," she whispered. Caitlin nodded, crouching to meet her at eye level. "And you're a baller," she replied. The little girl laughed nervously, looking down at her ruined shoes. "Not really. I just love to play." Caitlin glanced at the improvised hoop and then at the duct tape holding Kiera's shoes together. "You don't need new shoes to play," Caitlin said, "but you deserve them." She pulled out her phone, made a quick call, and within an hour, a local store owner, a longtime Fever supporter, arrived with a few boxes of new basketball gear. Kiera didn't know what to do. Her first instinct wasn't to grab a pair, but to ask, "Can we give some to the other kids too?" That one question melted Caitlin's heart completely. The girl who had nothing still thought first of others. It reminded Caitlin of her own childhood, of late nights practicing in her driveway, dreaming of something bigger but never imagining she'd one day be in. From that night on, Caitlin made it her mission to ensure Kiera's dream didn't fade under the weight of circumstance. She arranged for her to attend Fever training camps, set up tutoring support, and partnered with local organizations to start the Kiera Williams Youth Fund, a program that provided sports equipment and mentorship to underprivileged children across Iowa. Within months, Kiera's story went viral, inspiring countless others. The photograph of her milk crate hoop, taken by a bystander that night, became a national symbol of perseverance. Commentators said it reminded the world of what sport truly stands for. Not glory, but grit. Not fame, but faith. Not privilege, but purpose. And for Caitlin, that night became more than a moment of compassion. It was a mirror held up to her own journey. Watching Kiera play was like rediscovering the girl she once was. Barefoot in a driveway, chasing dreams too big for her small town. Sometimes, she thought all it takes to change a life is to stop, notice, and believe.
First quarter. Hello, Asia Wilson. Chelsea Gray with the assist. This stretch you already mentioned, especially.
The basketball was clutched tightly against her chest. Her wide eyes filled with that familiar blend of curiosity and guarded caution that belongs only to children who have learned too early to be careful around strangers. Caitlin stopped a few steps away, her voice gentle. "Hi there. I'm Caitlin. I couldn't help but notice your shooting form. It's really good." Recognition dawned across the little girl's face like sunrise breaking through cloud. "You're Caitlin Clark," she whispered, barely audible over the cold November wind. "You're the basketball lady from TV." Caitlin smiled, crouching down to meet her gaze, her tone both warm and playful. "I am," she said. "And who might you be?" The girl loosened her grip on the ball slightly. "Kiera," she answered shyly. "I practice every night. Grandma Ruby says practice makes perfect." Caitlin's heart melted at the earnestness in her tone. "Grandma Ruby is absolutely right," she said softly, her eyes drawn to Kiera's shoes, their soles splitting and held together by makeshift knots and tape. "How long have you been playing basketball?" she asked. "Since I was 6, Kiera replied with an adorable seriousness. "I want to be just like you when I grow up. I want to play in big games and make people happy." That simple declaration struck something deep inside Caitlin, a memory of her own childhood dreams, fragile yet fierce. Without really thinking, she said, "Would you like to show me some of your moves? Maybe I could give you a few tips." Kiera's eyes lit up instantly, her face glowing like Christmas morning. For the next half hour, under the flickering glow of that lonely streetlight, Caitlin Clark, one of the brightest stars in women's basketball, found herself running drills with a 7-year-old who had nothing but hope and grit. Caitlin adjusted Kiera's stance, showed her how to bend her knees and use her legs to generate power, and how to follow. What nobody expected was how much Kiera would give back. Her energy, her laughter, her unstoppable love for the game. It reminded everyone why they had started playing in the first place. The Fever players started calling her Little Lightning, a nod to her speed and the radiant joy that seemed to follow her everywhere. Practices became livelier, motivation returned to veterans who'd been dulled by routine, and the team's bond deepened. Caitlin often found herself reflecting that Kiera had become not just a symbol of hope, but a mirror of the sport's true essence. And it wasn't only the team that changed. Miss Ruby did too. After years of exhaustion and quiet worry, she began to see her granddaughter thriving, smiling, and being nurtured by a community that genuinely cared. For the first time in a long while, she felt hope stirring in her heart again. 6 months later, Kiera was flourishing. She was now one of the standout players in her youth league, her coordination and confidence growing every day. Yet what mattered most was that her heart hadn't changed. She still practiced daily, still played with that same unbreakable spirit, still loved every bounce of the ball. The story of Caitlin and Kiera spread naturally, shared by witnesses and fans alike. Videos of them practicing together, photos of Kiera in her Fever jersey, stories of how a chance encounter in a parking lot had blossomed into a life-changing mentorship. All of it moved thousands across the country. People were reminded that passion doesn't need wealth, that greatness isn't born in arenas but in small moments of belief, and that one act of kindness can ignite an entire future. Today, Kiera still dreams of playing in the WNBA, and with every practice, that dream edges closer to reality. Caitlin continues to mentor her, not just as a coach but as a friend. Their bond, built on respect, shared love for basketball, and the courage to believe, stands as a quiet reminder of what sport was always meant to be. Not just competition, but connection. And as Caitlin often tells reporters who ask about that night, sometimes the most important game you'll ever play isn't under bright lights. It's under a broken street lamp. When you decide to